Assad, and welcome back to another episode of the Anthill Channel. Do. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at how I make my nests for my ant colonies. Let's get into it. So to start, we're going to need a few items, like a piece of glass. This I just got from a little picture frame from Walmart. It only cost about $2. You just pop the glass out and you're good to go. And while I was there, I also picked up some clay. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. We're just going to be using it to form the chambers and the tunnels. Now for the hydration chamber, I'm using a little plastic candle holder, as well as some fine metal mesh. You're also going to need a little coffee straw. As well, I'm going to be using a little plastic Tupperware container that is slightly bigger than the viewing glass. As well, we will need some tubing and tubing connectors. I just got these from the Home Depot. I'm also going to be using this little wood burning pen as a welder. Now for the main block of the nest, I'm going to be using Gypsum Ultra Cal 30. This is a type of artist's molding cement. As well, I'm going to be using some watertight silicone. Alright, and now we've got all the ingredients, let's go get started. Now to start, I'm going to drill a hole in the plastic candle holder. This hole should be the same size as your coffee straw. Go ahead and insert the straw, and then I'm going to put some silicone on there to make it watertight. Now we're going to need to give that about 24 hours to fully cure. So let's go ahead and move on to something else that we can do in the meantime. Let's go ahead and take our little Tupperware and cut out the back. We need to make sure that this cut is big enough to fit the glass in later. Now that that's cut out, I also have this larger pane of glass that I got from Goodwill for about 99 cents. It was on a larger picture frame. Now we can go ahead and put some silicone on the bottom of our Tupperware. Now we can flip it over and affix it to our larger pane of glass. Let that cure for about 24 hours as well. Alright, so coming back in the morning, let's go ahead and grab our little plastic dish, and let's go ahead and grab that metal mesh. Now it's time to put them together. To accomplish this, we're going to use the wood burning pen. Holding the mesh over the opening of the plastic dish, making sure it's nice and tight, we can then take the wood burning pen and run it along the outside of the plastic dish. This will melt the plastic and it will seep through the mesh. It will dry almost instantaneously and hold stronger than glue. So we have the hydration, now we need the chamber, and that's where the clay comes in. Now take the little plastic container and we're going to make a chamber above this. Remember that wherever the clay is going to be a hollow spot in the gypsum pour later. Now make sure that the straw will be facing a way that will give you easy access after the nest is poured, either on the back or the side. And now we can work on any other chambers or tunnels that we need. And remember, you want your ant colony to fill up about 40% of the nest, so make sure you don't make it too big. Once you have the chambers and the tunnels set up how you like it, let's go ahead and pick the glass up very carefully and place it in the Tupperware. Alright, now we're going to need some small magnets. I had forgotten to mention this part. We can place our magnets in the nest as well as on the outside to help keep it in place. This will also help to keep the glass attached to the nest later, so it's an important step. And once we have that the way we like it, we can take our gypsum and mix it up. Now on the instructions for the gypsum, it says to mix it at a 40% water to a 60% gypsum mixture. Now about 20 to 30 minutes after you pour the gypsum, a chemical reaction will occur in it, causing it to harden. If you have any gypsum on your skin, you will want to wash it off before this happens. Make sure you don't pour your gypsum too quickly, you just want a nice slow pour. We can go ahead and lightly tap on the Tupperware a few times. This will help to get any air bubbles out. Don't hit it too hard because you can move the piece inside. And now we'll go ahead and let that dry for at least 24 hours. I give it about 48 though, just to be safe. We can come back and run a razor around the edge of the Tupperware and release it. And wow, this thing's looking pretty cool so far. But now we have to get this glass off. Now the glass can be a bit tricky to get off. Just carefully run a razor around the outside of it a few times. Should pop right out. And now it's time to pull the clay out. Now at this point we're going to want to drill a small hole for the entrance, making sure that we have some tubing that will be able to connect into this. Alright, now personally I think this is looking really good, but I don't like the look of the gypsum plain. I like to add a little something to it. So for this, I'm going to take a bit more of the silicone and paint it in one of the rooms. And then I'm going to take a dirt mixture of my choice and put it in that room. For this step, I like to go room by room. I don't like to do the whole nest at once. This is because the silicone tends to dry really quickly and it will be hard for the dirt to stick to certain parts later. Speaking of the dirt, so for this, we actually have a few different options. Like you can go out and get some regular dirt from outside and throw it in there. It'll look something like this. Or you can go to your local pet store, head over to the aquarium section, and they tend to have some gravel or rocks in there. Look for some smaller ones. I was able to find some really fine black gravel and some really fine white gravel. I think that this can look pretty cool in a nest as well. Once you're done with this step, you're going to want it to dry for about a week. This is because the silicone can release fumes for a few days after drying. But don't worry, we'll have something to do while that dries. Let's go get an acrylic container that we're going to use as an outworld. For this, to start, we're going to go ahead and take the lid and cut into it. Then we can take some more of that fine metal mesh and affix it to the top with that wood burning pen again. As well, we're going to want to drill a small hole for the entrance. Make sure that our tubing fits into this. I then took a different container and I mixed the silicone with some dirt. Then you just take this mixture and place it into your container. And now we can form this however we want. Maybe we just want some nice flat ground so we can see our colony. Or maybe we want to add a river cutting through the landscape. Or maybe we want a frozen lake. But maybe that's too cold. Let's go with volcano. Alright, I'm liking the volcano look. But what if you wanted a dock that was controlled by the Fire Nation? Well, boom, you can have that too. That's the wonders of building your own outworld. It can be whatever you want. Now this lava and or water that you're seeing in the outworld is just a 2-part clear epoxy resin mixed with some mica powder. If you use this correctly, it can really take your outworld to the next level, as well as your nest. But now I think the question becomes, do the ants even like these nests? Well, let's take a look. My Solenopsis xyloni definitely do. These ants have been in this nest for about a month, and they love it. I also have a little Tetramorium colony that is quite fond of theirs as well. So I should say, yes, so far the ants love it, and it's safe for them. So if any of you end up making a nest like this, please post it in the comments below as I'd love to see it. Remember that liking and subscribing is sold separately, and have a great day, and toodaloo.